Okay, good evening, everybody. If we could all stand for the pledge. Got everybody? Oh. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So item 1.03, well, first of all, thank you everybody for making the shift in location. I'm glad everyone found us okay. Item 1.03, approval revision of agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as written? Thank you, Anne and Jason. Any discussion or anything that anybody wants to add in there? Okay, all in favor? Okay, anybody opposed or abstaining? All right. Item 1.04, recognition from Enders Road.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Capri, and I have the honor of being the principal at Enders Road Elementary School. Thank you for the time this evening to recognize some of our staff members. Last year, during the 2023-24 school year, Enders Road Elementary School piloted BEST, which stands for Brainstorming Educational Strategies Team. BEST is a pre-referral intervention team approach, which is a part of the district's MTSS plan, or multi-tiered system of supports. BEST works in collaboration to develop solutions and implement interventions to support students with targeted needs in the areas of academics, social emotional wellness, and mental health. The members of last year's founding BEST team include Allison Addison, who is one of our office aides, was not able to join us this evening, Kathy Haley, our school counselor, Katie Hooks, a third grade teacher, Karen Noble, one of our reading teachers, and Sierra Todd, a first grade teacher at Enders. Through the BEST pilot, this dedicated team of professionals completed 2 different summer curriculum projects to prepare for the initial implementation, and then the following summer to reflect on ways for continuous improvement. They developed documents, protocols, routines, calendars, procedures, and trainings to ensure BEST operated efficiently and effectively. They participated in meetings throughout the school year focused upon supporting specific students and their teachers. They collected data to guide interventions for student growth and also program improvement. They offered training and professional development to Enders professionals and also to those professionals at other FM schools so that those schools could in turn implement the BEST model this year. In the end, last year, over 63 Enders students' educational experiences were supported and improved upon last year thanks to the hard work, dedication, and leadership of these professionals. On behalf of Enders Road and the district, I offer them our heartfelt gratitude.
Oh, they should come up. Recognition, should we? I don't know how to get out here.
Where are they? She has them.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're stuck in here, but we're waving. Congratulations. Thank you guys for your work.
Katie? Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. And then I'll bring Allison hers. So.
Oh.
Yes. 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 Brainstorming, now you're going to quiz me in front of everybody. Brainstorming Educational Strategies Team. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. All right. So we have a series of reports tonight. Our first is our district claims auditor, item 2.01.
evening, everyone. I'm Leslie Milanowski, the Claims Auditor, for those of you who have not met me yet. And for those of you who don't know what I do, my role here is to ensure the accuracy and integrity of the school district's financial transactions. I do this by coming in once a week, and I review the financial transactions for all of the districts in all the offices in the whole district. So there's quite a few. And I spend the afternoon going through and reviewing each packet to make sure that all the purchases were appropriate and all the underlying paperwork is there, and the check amounts are matching up with the purchase orders, and the bidding has been done. So there's a lot of things that I'm checking as I go through, and I'm signing off on my initials with each one. I'm going into my third year of doing this, so I've gotten a little bit more adept, and it's a little bit easier for me to, spot those little abnormalities that I see, and I don't see very many, frankly. The financial people at the district do a great job in the business office. They're really right on the ball. All of those packets are pretty well complete, and we have very, very few errors. This is actually a 2-page report that you're seeing up here, and it's missing the second page, but the second page is showing like the level of errors that I find based on all of these vouchers that I've gone through. And on that report, there it is. She just pulled it down for me. During this time period, it's a 12-month period from November through October of '24, and I reviewed over 4,800 claims. And within that 4,800 claims, there was approximately $78.5 million dispersed during that time frame. Now, while this year's economy has made the cost of doing business nearly twice as expensive as last year, the number of warrants that we processed and the purchases have decreased dramatically, and that is so that we ensure that we stay in line with the budgeted amounts, and that's been happening. So everything's great there. There's been really no change in the error margin. It's still, in most cases, below 1%, which is extraordinary given the volume of processing that we go through. The one big difference this year is there was a procedural change, and it was how arbiter payments are dispersed. Now, previously, all of our sporting officials were paid individually through our business office. This year, the district contracted with a third-party financial service named the Arbiter Sports Payment System, which I've not had a chance to review. I know it's out there, and I know that they're now entering all the information for the sporting officials into the system. So, whereas previously the treasurer was issuing individual payments to all of the officials, they're now being sent to a lump sum aggregate amount, and they cut the checks for all of the officials. So many districts are now using the system, and it really streamlines the whole payment process. The one point that I wanted to make with our district is that we've just fairly recently started using it. Not all of our district's arbiters agree to use that system. They prefer it to go through the business office. So as a result, we're now doing a split system. We've got some payments coming through this payment system, some going through the business office, and where that becomes confusing is the fee schedule for the arbiters. Depending on how many officials are present for each event, the pay scale is different. So you kind of have to go through and know how many were present for each game. And when the systems are split like that, you have to kind of go searching for that information. So that makes it a little clunky. So I would think that that might be up for discussion as to, all those payments coming through either one system or the other. I certainly would not have a problem with them going through a third-party payment system, but I just think it could be clarified a little bit and made a little bit more smooth. And I'd be willing to have access to the arbiter system so that I could actually see the underlying paperwork too, because that's another thing that I no longer got. I don't have like payment addresses, so I'm seeing names and the dates that they worked and the amounts that they're owed. But I don't know if their addresses were correct, if it's going to the right individual. That part I can't see because I don't have access to that system. But that's really been the only change. In all other areas of our finances, it's been status quo from last year. We're doing a great job. The error level's way down, and everything's running very smoothly. And that's about all I have, unless anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the work that you're doing on behalf of the district. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I'd like to thank Leslie, too, for coming out tonight. She went over this with the audit committee on the 6th, and what we don't know is how this arbiter system is going to work out. It's going to take a little while, I think, for districts to all get on board and officials to all get on board. It may be a while, but thank you so much, Leslie.
Okay. Item 2.02, art.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing us to share one of 3 curricular presentations that we have through the fall and early winter. I introduced our speaker last time she was here and put her on the spot a little bit, but now she knows that that I'm doing it. Katie Gabriel, again, is one of numerous extraordinary art educators that we have K through 12 in FM. We know so much about the accolades that all of our students receive. Katie and others like her. Katie was actually recently in June a recipient of an art award through City BOCES. Which recognized really the contributions that she and those like her have contributed to our community. And that's really what this presentation is about tonight. It's not just about what we see and know about K-12 art, but it's about all of the strands that exist across our strategic plan and across multiple content areas and our community. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce just a fantastic artist and educator and friend, Katie Gabriel.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Catherine. I came prepared today. I was at the podium last month. I had to go on the fly, but I really did plan. So thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Tice, Dr. Dutton, for your invitation and introduction, and everyone joining us today, including some of my amazing colleagues on the arts team. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight about K through 12 visual arts at Fayetteville-Manlius. It is truly an honor to be here again, and I'm grateful for this chance to share the meaningful work that our students and teachers are doing in the district to emphasize how well our program operates as a strategic thread through the FM experience. So first, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to each of you on the board and to our school administration for your continued support of the visual arts at FM. Second, a thank you to the arts faculty who helped contribute to this presentation, with peeks into their class studio spaces, sharing of student projects and lessons, and for being passionate leaders in our arts community in and out of the classroom. At FM, we are fortunate to have educators who are dedicated to helping each student realize their full potential. They go beyond traditional teaching methods to connect their lessons with the district's vision, mission, and priority areas. The arts play a vital role in shaping well-rounded, curious, and innovative thinkers, and we deeply appreciate our teachers' commitment to fostering a strong arts education for our students. As you know, our visual arts department is not just about teaching students how to draw, how to paint, how to take photos, and how to sculpt. It's about encouraging creative problem solving, developing critical thinking skills, and inspiring self-expression and confidence in our young people. Our students learn how to communicate ideas, explore their identities, and understand the world from multiple perspectives, all essential skills in today's complex and interconnected society, and coincidentally acting as a connective thread for our strategic plan of our district. Art's ability to provide personalized learning, curriculum refinement, and the integration of technology all resonate with the district's goals and foster creativity and critical thinking through the FM student experience. In this presentation, I will highlight how our learning standards and lessons are aligned with the district goals and how FM's art department is seen as exemplary for success across the state as the future of our student portrait evolves into individualized pathway assessments for achievement. So let's go. Through our district goal of teaching and learning, we focus on the aligning of the newest New York State visual art standards, which emphasize not only technique, but also creativity, analysis, and the cultural importance of art. This alignment ensures that our students gain skills that are relevant, challenging, and impactful. Our faculty members emphasize creativity, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills in their art curriculum, which are central to a comprehensive arts education. They encourage students to explore and understand art through the lenses of production, history, criticism, and aesthetics. The updated standards not only emphasize these skills, but hold our department accountable for curricular goals. FM's goal to design and implement personalized learning paths directly supports the art standards' emphasis on creative expression and personal engagement. Art education allows for varied pathways where students can explore different forms of art based on their interests, following autonomy in their learning. But in the last 2 years, we shifted several course offerings at the high school to reflect updated curriculum and ideas with a hope to increase access for student choices, industry readiness, and help with student scheduling. Fayetteville-Manlius boasts an art program with a rich history of excellence and engagement. Our AP art program stands out as one of the largest in New York State, with nearly 15% of our graduating seniors completing an AP art portfolio every year, consistently achieving an average score between 4 and 5. The program's success extends beyond the classroom, with students excelling in both AP assessments and prestigious scholastic competitions. This level of achievement has garnered recognition from leaders in art education across the state, further solidifying FM's reputation as a leader in fostering artistic talent. This June, we are completing the 3-year pilot. I remember coming here and speaking with you about it a few years ago, for the Arts Pathway for Graduation, partially written by our district. IAAP portfolios are locally graded and reported to New York State Department of Education. To quote the State Education Department, districts are responsible for ensuring that student portfolios meet the high school 2 accomplished level of the learning standards for the arts. That work begins this spring during June Regents Weeks, and I look forward to working through this process with our building leaders and counseling. According to the newly released New York Inspires plan, the IAAP will continue as a pathway choice students can make to fulfill graduation requirements. David Siegelman, the arts leader at New York State Ed, has this to say about Fayetteville-Manlius' art program. Fayetteville-Manlius High School has played a pivotal role in advancing the Individual Arts Assessment Pathway, IAAP. As a member of the IAAP Development Committee Working Group, FM contributed significantly to the development, revision, and implementation of the IAAP, including the creation of discipline-specific implementation guides. Additionally, Fayetteville-Manlius actively shared their local implementation plans and resources with pilot schools across the state, further supporting and strengthening IAAP rollout statewide. An important strength of the FM Arts curriculum is our teachers' abilities to build direct foundational skills from elementary school to high school. Together, we build upon the knowledge from each level and move students forward. This takes communication and collaboration, and opportunities to develop curriculum together are invaluable. The district's goal to identify academic areas for support and refine curricula aligns with the arts standards focus on developing technical skills and understanding the role of arts in our society. The following examples come from our students and teachers. In elementary school, students are welcomed into an environment filled with enthusiasm and joy, where teachers emphasize the importance of play and process, an essential elements of learning. This approach recognizes that young learners thrive when they are given opportunities to explore, create, and engage with concepts in a hands-on and meaningful way. According to Lily Toman and Jordan Coons from K4 Arts, their new curriculum is designed to lay a strong foundation of knowledge while encouraging interdisciplinary learning, enabling students to make connections across subjects and understand the broader relevance of their studies. Their curriculum emphasizes agency through intellectual and conceptual practices, fostering critical thinking and self-expression by empowering students to take ownership of their learning journey. By integrating these practices, educators aim to nurture not only academic skills, but also creativity, curiosity, and confidence, setting the stage for lifelong learning. As students transition into middle school, their prior experiences and foundational knowledge in art serve as a springboard for deeper exploration and advanced skill development. At this stage, students build upon the playful experimentation and interdisciplinary learning of elementary art, refining their technical abilities while exploring more complex ideas and themes. Middle school art programs at Eagle Hill and Wellwood emphasize honoring craftsmanship, developing observation skills, and engaging in thoughtful conceptual work, enabling students to create pieces that are both technically proficient and personally meaningful. Through guided projects and self-directed inquiries, they are encouraged to take risks, experiment with new media, and develop a more sophisticated understanding of artistic processes. This progression helps students discover their individual artistic voices while continuing to foster creativity, critical thinking, and appreciation for interconnectedness of art with other disciplines. Students who elect to take art courses at the high school are met with various choices and disciplines, connected through curricular goals and contemporary standards. It is here that students advance their skills and inquiries, practicing true interdisciplinary innovation and establishing portfolio work that exceeds personal goals and are competitive for opportunities in competitions, college admissions, and scholarships. But most importantly, students develop a body of work that is authentically their own, reflecting their individual interests, perspectives, and experiences. Through this process, they cultivate a creative confidence that will enrich their lives far beyond the classroom, empowering them as lifelong creators and thinkers. FM's strategic goal to integrate computer science and digital fluency into the curriculum is uniquely connected to the newest art standards on digital media and the 2017 release standards for media arts, where art programs at FM are growing. Art students today need to be proficient in using software and digital tools, such as the Adobe Creative Suite, animation, and 3D modeling programs. This integration supports the district's goal of creating personalized learning experience in the arts that incorporate modern technologies. I implore the district to consider the digital and media arts as part of the art department, an extension of the fine arts that we proudly offer at FM. Along these lines, our department has met multiple times with Laurel Chiesa and STEM department faculty to facilitate conversation and grow together into a STEAM-driven collaborative partnership. As this quote says, STEAM is about applying creative thinking and visual learning in STEM fields to produce innovation. Without the arts, STEM is no more than technology. Oops, I went ahead too far. Teachers at FM are working to improve our creative digital literacy and connections between these skills in the workplace. This fall, K-12 art faculty met with an FM alum named Renee Stevens. She's a graphic designer, an augmented reality artist, and the current chair of visual communications at Syracuse University School, Newhouse School. For a comprehensive tour of their creative design labs, arts and design industry programs, and the district supplied art teachers a copy of Renee's book, here it is, Powered by Design, so written by an FM graduate. It's an updated view of arts and design to enhance our curriculum and deliver more accurate, updated, industry-focused research and innovative approaches to teaching. We are enjoying a moment in the arts where our interdisciplinary importance is growing through multiple programs. Well known to our arts faculty is how we provide a connective thread through all disciplines. As you can see in this graphic, the artistic process is the same as the scientific method. I'd like to rename this as one system, the process of curiosity. In art and design, we test a hypothesis through media and visual communication, techniques and strategies, and experimentation. This makes the arts an invaluable tool for our students to explore their curiosity. Skills practiced in the art studio can be used in all academic areas and develop critical thinking in our children. Next, a safe, supportive school environment fosters creativity and social emotional learning, which is critical in the visual arts, where expression often reflects students' personal feelings and experiences. In our focus on school environment, the visual arts play a unique role in building a sense of belonging and pride. From student artwork displayed in school halls to community projects that bring students, parents, and local professionals together, the arts enrich our school culture and contribute to a welcoming environment for all. The district's goals around DEI, as well as addressing mental health needs, directly support developing empathy and cultural awareness through art. Visual arts education provides an ideal space for students to explore and express their diverse identities, experiences, and emotions. This aligns with the district's emphasis on affirming diverse identities and supporting the whole child. The importance of the arts content area cannot be overstated in the development of the full student and should be accessed equally by all students, no matter their academic plan, when considering schedules and services in all buildings. FM's district goal to develop collaborative learning spaces also aligned with our current programming, as FM's art education often involves group and community projects, shared studios, peer critiques, and interdisciplinary and collaborative opportunities which enhance social emotional learning and critical thinking. This happens across all of our buildings. One example of this is with our department's support of Eagle Hills, I don't think this is the one here, of Eagle Hills Agents of Change course last year, where high school art students collaborated with conceptual ideas of 8th graders to bring a long-term mural project to life in the corridor at Eagle Hill next to the LGI. I encourage everyone to visit that mural. FM's art classes are well suited to support social emotional learning, a district priority. Our faculty stresses the development of self-expression and confidence. Students who engage in art making gain a deeper understanding of themselves, their emotions, and how to navigate the world around them, which complements the district's focus on mental health. For example, Kat Krause at Fayetteville Elementary states, "We created positive affirmation posters and discussed the value of our feelings and mindsets when walking through the halls of our school. This aligns with the social, emotional, mental health portion of the strategic plan." I went to go visit this exhibit last week in Fayetteville Elementary. It's adorable. Please take a look if you're in the building. Okay. The integration of service learning and partnerships extends the reach of education beyond the classroom, creating real-world applications for learning and helping students develop into active and engaged citizens. The district's focus on building partnerships and community service aligns directly with our New York State art standards, emphasis on art as a tool for social change and community involvement. Through projects like murals, exhibitions, or public art installations, students can engage with their communities and reflect on how art serves both local and global audiences. And with the State Education Department's new IAAP portfolio pathway, these community projects outside of school can actually aid in high school graduation success. The district's goal to network with educators and stay current with educational practices connects with our department's focus on global awareness and the role of visual arts in our society. The visual arts provide a medium for cross-curricular understanding, which we guide students through exposure to national and international art practices and movements. Wellwood continues its relationship with the Memory Project. As described by Kate Kretschmer, one of our Wellwood teachers, the Memory Project is a youth arts organization that promotes intercultural understanding and kindness between children around the world. We have been fortunate to have 320,000 youth in 57 countries involved in our school-based program since 2004. Together, we are using art to reach a distant destination, a kinder world in which all youth see themselves in one another, regardless of differences in their appearance, culture, religion, or circumstances. For all who believe that a kinder world on the horizon, it is impossible to turn around. The National Art Honor Society, which you've heard a lot about lately, it's in its 6th year at the high school. And boy, have they been busy. As you have heard, we have all enjoyed connecting these civic-minded creatives with multiple community organizations and professionals to complete projects with immense reach and visibility for Fayetteville-Manlius. Here on the slide are just a few of the organizations we've partnered with, and we have more coming in the near future that I don't want to say yet. We're working very hard. And then in the classroom, our photography and 2D design professional faculty member, Brittany Culligan, who's here today, pairs community projects with her advanced students. So I'm going to read her slide. A project we are starting in my Photo 3 class, which will continue next semester in Photo 4, connects with a strategic plan's goal of furthering community connections. Photo students will be working with local businesses which align with the district's strategic planning goals. Local businesses often need quality photography, but may lack the budget for professional services. In addition, photography students need to experience and opportunities to develop a portfolio. This collaboration addresses these needs, providing students with a valuable learning experience and local businesses with cost-effective visuals. Photography students will gain real-world experience in business environments, build a professional portfolio by capturing commercial images, receive constructive feedback to improve skills and client management. And I actually did see Brittany in action in the community last week at the new Manlius Supply Company, where she was talking to the owner's ear about bringing students in and having them partner with her new company for some promotional materials. The following slides are actually products from the collaboration that our star student, Morgan Kelder, completed with her mother's business, which you may know, Mrs. Kelder's Cakes. And last but not least, the strategic goal of maintaining financial sustainability while improving educational facilities ensures that our schools have the resources needed to maintain high-quality art education programs, including technology, collaborative curriculum opportunities, professional development, and physical spaces for art creation. The district's commitment to maintaining strong technology infrastructure supports our needs, especially those related to equipment like photography and digital arts. With the growing integration of digital tools and platforms for art creation and communication, ensuring that a robust and secure technology infrastructure is essential for meeting the evolving needs of a competitive visual arts education for our FM students. Investing in learning spaces and equipment provides safe, well-equipped environments for creating and displaying our artwork. These facilities allow for a hands-on, immersive learning experience that is aligned with the goals of fostering creativity and innovation in the visual arts. We look forward to the new photography and design lab at the high school. It's coming. I saw a door go on today. And students are thriving in the new art studios at Wellwood. Many updates in other spaces are in conversation, and we hope our principals will support the infrastructure needs necessary to foster safe, creative, and curious learning opportunities in other buildings. Here we are. I'm continually inspired by our students, whose dedication and creativity remind me daily of the transformative power of the arts. The opportunities made possible through your support help them discover their voices, explore curiosity and identity, build resilience, and become engaged, thoughtful members of our community and beyond. Thank you for your ongoing commitment to the visual arts and for recognizing their vital role here at Fayetteville-Manlius. I am eager to continue building on our achievements, exploring new ways to make the arts an even more integral and impactful part of our students' overall education. And we welcome your feedback, ideas, and suggestions as we work together to strengthen the strategic, connective threads that unite and enrich our district. Thank you so, so much, and stay curious and creative. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Does anybody have any questions as she's walking away? Oh, sorry. That's okay. Daryl?
Katie, you have some colleagues with you? I can't.
I
see
do.
them.
Could you stand?
Could you,
Bring them up. Bring them.
is that?
I can't.
We have Brittany Culligan. She's our head photography and design teacher, and our brand new high school teacher, Marina Darling, who joined us this year after Ellen Hafar's retirement. And they're an amazing team, Daryl, and very lucky.
Good,
Yeah.
great. Well, I just was very impressed with, I had the chance during our preparation for the board meeting to look over your plan, and it was most impressive.
Thank you.
And of course, I know all the board is thrilled that you're following our district priorities, and it's quite impressive also. So
Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any questions? I guess, Katie, one thing I have for you, is there anything that the board could do to support the arts program from?
Things are ever evolving in the arts department, so I think that we're seeing a lot of changes in the district no matter what, between, the STEM wing at the high school, and we're trying to be more communicative with that process so that we can have more involvement, including asking counseling to align some of our courses with technology and art so that they're happening in the same period, like a level 100 class happening at the same time as a level 100 technology class, so that we can have cross-collaboration between faculty with those students. We're noticing that the collegiate needs for our graduates is becoming much more technology-based on our end, and it's always actually been very art-directed on the technology end. For instance, if a student is taking architecture classes at the high school, but they want to make a portfolio to go to college for architecture, they actually need to submit an art portfolio, not a technology portfolio. So we've always had a little bit of when it gets to the seniors and their needs, it's always been that they're a little bit too siloed. So we're looking for more collaboration, which has started to, it's starting now, which is great. So if we have some more needs upcoming, you guys have been just so supportive and so open to listening that I know I can count on you. and Dr. Tice has been great. We have that new wide format printer that's been amazing, and it actually helped support some of the Eagle Hill Drama Theater Aladdin for this week in a couple of the props that they needed. So thank you for that. It's helping others besides just us in the arts. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Any more? Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks. And last but not least, Dr. Tice, statistical report.
Thank you. In front of you, I also distributed tonight, hot off the press from BOCES, is our annual statistical report. It follows the same format as you have seen in past years. And if you have any specific questions, I know you're just receiving it tonight, please do not hesitate to pick up the telephone or fire off an email. I'll be happy to converse with you about more of the details. I mean, some of the statistics I'll reference tonight in my brief report, just giving you an update on where we are. And again, as a reminder, and I've said it ad nauseum, this booklet is not to try to ratchet up the pressure on administrators or teachers. I think by monitoring this, and as Arthur Costa says, what's inspected is expected, it provides the simple truth that we're doing very well, as you might expect at Fayetteville-Manlius. And as we try new initiatives that are part of our strategic plan, I think this statistical booklet, again, isn't a threat. It's not a rolled up newspaper to admonish anybody. It really provides that safety net to try new things, because if there is an implementation dip or a sophomore slump, we're going to be the first to notice. And so I just offer this to you as a way to go through. You can see the state data on the left flyleaf with the comparison charts from the state, and then the Fayetteville-Manlius information is on the right flyleaf. All of this data, as I've told you before, is verifiable on the public site of the New York State Education Department. So there's nothing in here that really should be a surprise unless it's a typographical error. So again, feel free to spend some time with it. It's like a physician's desk reference. It kind of gives you where we are, some comparison data with similar schools throughout New York State, and it also provides longitudinally where we've come from over the past decade. So let's hit some of that right now. And we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. First up is enrollment. As you can see, we've pretty much plateaued. When so many other districts are losing enrollment, certainly at FM we've stayed fairly consistent over time at about 4,100 students. Attendance rate has been strong as well. Certainly student attendance is indicative of a community that values education, and I think from the students, the families, the teachers, and the administrators, this, I think, results in a very strong attendance rate, as it has been over the course of the past decade. Next up is what is affectionately called the Friple Count Free and Reduced Price Lunch. It has been, as you might expect in this community, towards the bottom end, but what it is interesting to note, it's been creeping upward. So I think more and more, especially even with COVID, our families are experiencing more distress in terms of free and reduced lunch. Some maybe even higher. Some with a false pride will not apply for it in spite of our best efforts. And so this number may actually be lower even over the course of the past decade, may not be truly representative of all the families that would qualify. So the fact that it is creeping up ever so gently there still should give us some pause for concern. Next is suspension rate. As you know, ours has historically been low. We try to work with the students and their families in terms of keeping the students in school, even with the appropriate consequences. But certainly we try to provide the supports, and definitely some of the behaviors we're seeing are even more challenging now since the COVID pandemic. Percent turnover in faculty has remained low. FM is a destination district, not only for a lot of families, but also for the educators. And certainly we've tried to retain and keep the best faculty and administrators through our contract negotiations and personnel. Percent turnover in novice faculty, this is something that in FM we're seeing in other districts as well in terms of the rigors of the profession. There is quite a bit of turnover. We try to provide the support through mentoring and through professional development. but we're not immune as compared with other districts as well. They're seeing turnover in novice faculty who are deciding to go with other professions or not to pursue master's degrees as well. Pupil-teacher ratio has remained relatively consistent at about 13. Again, this is total number of adults. I know the board has asked Lisa Wade and Melissa Corbin to dig deeper into the class size numbers, which again are in this book as well. And so I know they will be reporting back in a future meeting. In terms of Regents diplomas and advanced designation, we're doing very well in that area. Quite a few of our students. I was just recently at the National Honor Society inductions here at the high school in this very room, and quite a few of our students were recognized as part of the members of the National Honor Society. So it should not come as a surprise in terms of the number of students we see with advanced designation in addition to the Regents diploma. Dropout rate, again, credit to our counselors and teachers who try to work with every child to keep them in school and not to have them be an academic dropout. And again, that stayed pretty consistent right at the bottom at 0 or 1%. We try to meet them where they are. In terms of total general fund expenditures, you've seen this fluctuate. The big dip there is a result of COVID and having less services during that time. But again, it has crept upwards a little bit in terms of the spending per pupil. And then finally, students with disabilities. We've seen a slight increase over time as well. We've hovered just under 10%. In the last few years, it's starting to creep up into double digits. So I know our special education department has worked very hard to identify those students that qualify for those services. Amy Evans in special ed has hosted a number of meetings with the Mid-State Partnership in terms of helping parents to become more informed. So again, to me, it is not surprising that we've seen just a few more students identified to get the services that they deserve. And that ends my report. Do you have any specific questions on that?
Does anybody have any questions about anything?
No, Craig, first of all, thank you for that. There's a lot of information for us to all go through, so appreciate it. Just when we take a look at the total general fund expenditures, I guess the thing that pops out on the chart is that the 2023 expenditures are slightly below where we were at 2019, and yet we've had significant inflation in that time. So I think it's probably really a credit to you and the administration to help control costs while providing students just the best education that they can get. So thank you.
Thank you for noticing that. If I said it, it would sound self-serving, but thank you. I mean, we are, and my wife as a graduate here has always, to piggyback on Jason's comment, has reminded me, you know, we are a frugal community. We value nice things in education, but at the same time, we have to be responsible to the taxpayer. So thank you for pointing that out. And again, any other specific questions about what's in the book, I'm happy to field a phone call or email.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 2.04, President's Report. So as the fellow board members are aware, we have issued our RFP out to potential search firms for the superintendent search. The responses of that are due by the 22nd. So you guys will be hearing more once we get the responses, and then we will start to figure out how we will select which search firm that we'd like to work with and move the process forward from there, and we'll be able to give more information to the public about the whole process as a whole at that point. And then just another friendly reminder, thank you for those of you who have already submitted a donation for the Phil Martin Award. If you haven't already, I'm willing to take your money and then donate it to a student who will be a great recipient of that. And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay. Item 2.05, Superintendent's Report.
In the event you did not hear enough of me earlier, this is the superintendent's report. The backup information is located in board docs. Item 1, capital project update. The high school capital improvement project is moving forward as the contractors have installed the structural steel for the new expanded cafeteria addition that will also house the new broadcast journalism studio and the learning support center. Moreover, the contractors installed the covered walkway within the new courtyard area to provide another means of passage to supplement the art wing hallway. I know the air conditioning is on in there because I get reports that it is pretty cold in that walkway, but it does provide another opportunity to get from house 1 to house 2. We anticipate that the auxiliary gym, the new photography studio, to become operational and ready for occupancy before the calendar flips to 2025, so we're excited about that. The school student climate and culture survey, pleased to report that we had an overwhelming response from the students as they offer their opinions for the school climate and culture survey. Administered by Research and Marketing Strategies, RMS out of Baldwinsville, this confidential and anonymous survey was similar to the instrument that was administered over the past couple of years so that we're able to analyze the trend data longitudinally over time. To continue our efforts, these surveys will be administered to the faculty and staff during the winter and to our families and parents in the spring. National Honor Society inductions. Congratulations, as I said earlier, to our new inductees that were recognized in this very auditorium. It was a special event that was attended and presided over by our faculty advisors and the administration. Item next, screening of the movie Like at West Hill High School. I'm delighted to announce that the West Hill Superintendent of Schools, Steve Dunham, has invited the greater Central New York community to the screening of the movie Like. As our district clerk pointed out to me, there's actually 2 movies of that title, so be very careful. This is the one that's under an hour. The catchphrase is, "Are you using technology or is technology using you?" certainly resonates with the families who are concerned with the apparent addiction to cell phone use by our nation's youth. Our K-12 mental health task force is scrambled and will be transferring the flag and moving our inaugural meeting this year over to West Hill High School so they can not only meet but also participate in the screening and the question and answer session as well. The movie is approximately an hour and will start at 6 p.m. Item next, Your Opinion Matters. This is a public service reminder that our 2024 annual report to the community is still open until December 1st, so I encourage all community stakeholders to participate in the survey. It has questions regarding if you're interested in being on either the DEI District Committee or the K-12 Mental Health Task Force, as well as questions about the potential cell phone prohibition that the governor has been talking about as well. The AAA-SA Learning 2025 Lighthouse National Demonstration Systems Award. As you are all aware, I'm pleased to report that the FM district was one of 6 school systems nationwide to earn the Lighthouse Demonstration System designation. As one of only 37 districts in the nation and one of only 4 in New York State total, FM joins a select group of school districts committed to student-centered transformation that will occur in the educational marketplace in the years ahead. AASA recognized FM in the area of community alignment, which especially for our efforts to be intentional and transparent in involving community members and district committees, task forces, surveys to provide feedback, including separate surveys in school culture and climate, as well as being strategic and transparent with our strategic planning process in a visible and accountable manner that ended in the publication of the annual report. And then last but not least, I'll recognize her because she's in the audience tonight, Dr. Denise Mons, for being recognized as a New York State Association for Language Teachers with the Ruth E. Walsley Distinguished Teacher Award. So well done, congratulations. And that ends my report.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Dr. Tice? It's a great accolade that we received as a school, so thank you for that and all the other great updates. That's wonderful. Okay. Item 2.06, reports. Daryl, did you have any legislative liaison updates?
I really don't, other than Leslie's appearance tonight, and we've put out an RFP for internal auditors. We'll report on that later.
Okay. And Marissa's not here, and Isam is not able to join us either. Anybody from a committee level that has any pressing breaking news they would like to report? Okay. Item 3.01, public comment. My understanding is we do not have anyone for public comment. Okay. Any last minute takers on that? No? Okay. Just wanted to offer. Item 5.01, board development, 4.01, sorry, skipping ahead, so excited. Approval of minutes, October 28th. So be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Fayetteville-Manlius School District approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 28th, 2024 as presented. May I have a motion? Daryl? And a second? Chrissy, thank you. And all in favor? And anybody abstaining? Great. Thank you. So are we still, we're still, okay. Item 5.01, board development. So Daryl, since Marissa isn't here, do you have a quick summary of the highlights from the NYSBA convention?
I'm reading between the lines. You mean brief? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. We all participated in the law conference, which was the first full day of the conference, and that was from, 8:15 to 3:30. So there were 5 different topics covered, and I put them in board docs. Actually, I didn't put them in. I think Sandy put them in for you, but they're all outlined there. I think some of the interesting things are about practical uses for AI within a district. You might find some of them interesting. We've talked about routing for our buses. We use some kind of a system, but AI is not part of it. Is it, Dr. Tice?
I can't speak.
We're not sure
I
yet.
can't speak for the software in particular, but TransFinder is the system that we
Okay,
use.
but it is a
for the routing.
possibility that we could, at some future
Possibly,
date,
yeah.
use AI. Or for budgeting, calculating tax levies, so forth. There are lots of practical uses for AI in schools. Employee speech, that was very interesting because, of course, employees do have First Amendment rights, but that doesn't mean it's carte blanche to say anything you want to, and that's all outlined. Speech, religion, and other protected interests. I guess boiling it down, it's okay to teach about religion, but it's not okay to proselytize, which we all know. The open meetings law were covered in total. Reasons, one thing that I thought we should note is that when we go into executive session, the reasons should be stated specifically. I think we've talked about it, but we've not really done it. So when we say we're going to talk about collective bargaining, for instance, if it's about the teachers union, then we should say about the teachers association, not just collective bargaining. One thing you may not know, audit committee is the only other committee that can go into executive session. We've actually done it a couple times this past year. Only in-person voting is allowed, so even though we might come in by Zoom, we're not allowed to vote in that way. Collective bargaining, there was a interesting modeling of role-playing of good faith, well, sort of good faith. It wasn't entirely good faith bargaining, but it was interesting. So the law workshop was very good. There were a couple of workshops I went to were not as effective for me, but One that I did like was strategies for effective board meetings that Mark Snyder did, and he's with NISBA. He's part of the senior leadership team. And I put those are all there for you, but most of them we adhere to. There are just a few things, a couple things that they mentioned, if I can find my things. Lots of districts are doing things like this. This is VBS. They have a welcome brochure that's available at board meetings, just something you might want to consider. Maybe ask Sandy to put that in for us as well.
What does the brochure
Well,
have in it?
it talks about the responsibilities of the board, about executive session, public meeting, public comment. And we've done a good job of establishing protocols for public comment, but apparently lots of districts still have not done that.
So just
I
like a
thought-
nice
I thought it was an
reminder.
interesting thought. Well, I'm sorry.
A nice reminder as you're
Yes,
walking in.
yes.
Yeah.
And another thing they often do is to have student ambassadors. We don't have enough public probably to take up students' time, but if we knew we were going to have a group, it might be nice to have them, and they might hand out a brochure like that. Just some thoughts. The Commissioner of Education, Betty Rosa, and the Deputy Commissioner, Dr. Madison, spoke for, I guess, a full hour about the Blue Ribbon Commission and about regionalization and the need for it. And I don't want to bore you with all of it, but it is in board docs. And I think you'll find it very positive, the fact that students need to be active agents in their own education. This is what we've talked about for years now, and it's really happening in our district and most every place around the state, hopefully. Though assessments are mandated by the federal government, they serve a purpose, but it's just as important that students have the ability to show their understanding of material through portfolios or media presentations in many ways. The portrait of a graduate came about from all these conversations with students and parents, teachers, administrators, NISBA. It was not just state ed or just NISBA, just so you know, it was all the stakeholders. And she was particularly complimentary of the students and their contributions to those conversations. The things they want are more hands-on, more financial literacy, more AI, opportunities for internships, mentorships, networking, and more project-based experiences. So it was probably worth, for me it was worth being there. The regionalization factor is, I think it's frightening to some people because we've been approached, as you know, by one district, but the whole idea is that when aid has been pulled, which it has been, suddenly there were 337 districts in the state that were going to be in crisis because we were following how many years have we had some pretty good aid, foundation aid, COVID aid, and now nothing. So it's a possibility that some of these districts are going to have to find ways. They just can't offer the great curricula if they don't have either the students or the teachers or classes, right, exactly. So that's going to be an emphasis in the state for the next couple of years for sure. One that I didn't attend but my husband did and thought was very valuable was partnering in local history to build a culturally responsive district. And it was the Monroe 1 BOCES, and Dr. Kathy Halber, Keisha James, and Shane Wiegand presented. And it falls in with our framework for the culturally responsive sustaining framework. And what they really talked about was raising awareness about the continent of Africa and the cultural history of Africa, and then the history and experience of the Black population in the United States, so that we can better understand what we need to do today to eradicate prejudice and hatred. But that, I tried to put all of the links in case you're interested. And one that I would encourage you to look at all of them. The keynotes were fun. The first one was a fellow from Newcastle, England, talking about AI, Dan Kirkpatrick, I think, and very interesting. And then the second was the introduction of a robot named Sophia. You may have seen her in the past. She's been on, I think, Jimmy Fallon's show and around. She's been around for a while, but very interesting. Bob Schneider, our executive director, had a conversation with her, and with questions from the audience. She responded very naturally, well, almost naturally, but without any prompting or pre-knowledge of the questions. It was fascinating to me because I had not been aware of the progress that they've made in that area. Let me see. I think that probably there's one that we were able to get to on Tuesday morning that I thought was fabulous. And it's Stephen Sharp Nelson, and it's called Recharge Through Story and Song. And again, the connection is there in the board docs, but he's a cellist, which sounds crazy to be going to an educational conference to listen to a cellist, but he really talked a lot about the inspiration that our teachers are to students and how important it is that we continue in the arts, speaking of arts. But I think you would enjoy it. It's very interesting. He founded the Piano Guy, and though he plays the cello, they go all over. They've been to 4 of the 7 wonders of the world and had concerts in all the great halls, and I think you'll find it very interesting. It's fabulous. So I felt the conference was very worthwhile. I also received from some students invitations to Walt Whitman High School, where they have a Muslim Student Association, and they wanted us to send students down to their which I thought was nice. A really neat sidelight, if any of you are going to New York in the next few months or year. Rise New York was just opened last March, and Day Automation hosted all of us that Monday night, I think it was. It's a new museum, and it really is the history of all media, television, radio, transportation. It was fascinating. So you sit in a train station and you hear there were clothes, Taylor Swift's clothes were there, Beyonce's clothes, the radio, evolution of the radio, several places. But the best part, maybe not for Marissa, but the best part was at the end. Look it up on Google, because you can do the ride on Google, but it's a fascinating ride over the skyscrapers of New York, and you feel like you're actually there. And you actually, I think we got wet. Didn't we have a spray of snow and a spray? So it was pretty realistic. So thank you for your time. I hope that wasn't too boring.
Thank you, Daryl, and thanks for putting all the notes in board docs.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
Daryl, this was a tremendous amount of work to summarize everything you attended and in an outline. I mean, thank you so much for doing that, because it's really a great resource for us to be able to take more time to absorb.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Also, with board development, it's not listed on there anymore. I think the national conference coming April, perhaps? Yes, April. Perhaps I will. Yeah. Okay, so potential considerations for future meetings. Last meeting, we slightly trimmed the list, I think by 1 or 2. But we tried to consolidate some things on here, and some items got shifted to committees, and had some notes located in here. So does anybody have any questions about anything that's on the list? The one, and I know it's listed as a workshop later on the agenda here, but it's sort of more of a discussion point at this point. I think maybe we'll have a broader scale workshop once we get the community survey feedback and see if there's additional items we want to discuss, but related to cell phones. Anybody have any questions on anything that's on here?
I guess, Sarah, maybe this is one of the items that you shifted, but I was looking for the homework policy, and I no longer see it.
So we discussed that was going to come out of, Catherine's going to be reporting later on the audit that she's doing, the curriculum audit, and that was we thought that the homework policy was sort of going to be all encompassing, that would be related to that. Correct? So we felt that we deferred that for looking at everything as a whole, equity audit, essentially, and looking at homework as part of that. So we would take that off the boards. It's not our responsibility, but we would look to hear more about it down the road. Okay. Future meetings, so it's practically December, and we're going to have another curriculum report. Dr. Tice, do you know which one that was?
Yes, we'll be looking at K-12 math.
K-12 math, okay. Exciting. Okay, and as you can see, we have crossed the meeting off the list. You're all welcome. December 16th, no, what will you do with all of your free time? Although maybe we'll have to add something back in, I don't know. I'm sure that will happen. Dates to remember, so we've got some concerts, and we're coming into the holiday season, so there'll be different musical concerts and things that are going. And then the next big read conversation is coming up. I thought the kickoff was really well done, and I greatly appreciated the conversations that my group had. So I think that's great. I would encourage anybody, it's not too late. You don't have to have gone to the kickoff. You can still join. So I think there's information on our website about that. They have their own website, but we probably linked off of our website. Great. Okay. So item 7, consent agenda. May I have a motion for the consent agenda, please? Rebecca and Daryl? And all in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Great. And no items removed. Okay, so board workshop, item 9.01. So what we had asked about was to have Dr. Tice, the last couple of times we've talked about cell phones, we reviewed kind of our current practices at the middle schools and the high school, but the piece that we really didn't kind of hear much about was how effective are those practices working, and or are they not, and what are the pain points from an administrator's perspective. So I know you were going to go off and gather some information, so.
Certainly, and as you can, and this again is a fledgling workshop for us. I know we're missing 3 board members this evening, so certainly I fully expected this conversation, as President Fitzgerald indicated, to continue into the future. But you had tasked me with asking the administrators also, thanks to our district clerk, the FMTA survey results are in there, as well as the student survey that ESIM shared with us, and in there as well as the administrative. So thanks to our district clerk, we paralleled the FMTA survey, and the response rate you can see from nearly every administrator responded to this in terms of, again, concerns that they have about cell phones. The elementary administrators indicated they're seeing more of the watches at the elementary level. And while certainly I think everybody is cognizant of the fact that there are those that would like the cell phones certainly banned or in caddies or yonder pouches, that they know it's not going to be universal in terms of some of the disciplinary issues that they've dealt with, and parental pressure in the event of emergencies, and just teaching students how best to use cell phones in an appropriate way. What's interesting is I had mentioned in my superintendent's report the RMS draft results from the student. Some of the students, our district clerk and I were talking about it today, in there said that the students are being mean to each other, and in part the social media with cell phones. But then later on in some of the open-ended questions, it says, I'm getting tired of doing these surveys, we need to change. And it's like, but it can't, it's got to come from within, you know. It's kind of, we met the enemy and they are us from POGO. I mean, I think we all have to teach the right way to use cell phones as well. And so I think it was interesting just reading, again, the draft report from RMS, their first stab at it. Certainly the students recognize that students use the cell phones to be mean to each other, but they're looking for improvement. And I think sometimes it starts with looking in the mirror too. So I think whether we ban or not, and the administrators, that's where I'm ending with this, kind of came up with that, I think certainly we can be in concert with, in terms of the teacher needs and whatever the governor ends up deciding, but it's still going to be incumbent upon us to help teach the students how to appropriately use technology, because it isn't going away. It's going to be part of their lives for good, for bad, and so certainly being able to teach them some coping mechanisms or how to use it appropriately, I think will be important. But again, that's just my summary. We have the whole report in there, and our district clerk has uploaded it for your review.
Thank you, Craig. So, you didn't have a conversation with the administrators to know, sort of, for example, at the middle school, what we talked about before was that there's a rule that they're supposed to be keeping their devices in their lockers all day, and that's their practice in building level policy. Are they seeing that that's been working, or are students not keeping them in their lockers?
As you can see from the survey results, we did bring it up at administrative council and talked that it takes a team effort for enforcement. So it just can't be, it has to be teachers in conjunction with administrators. It can't come from above, and some teachers allow it, some teachers don't allow it. But for the most part, what they're seeing is that the students are not using it. At the high school, they're allowed to use it during lunch or study hall or walking in the hallways and so forth.
Because I guess that was one of my questions before was, at the high school, for example, they've implemented a policy. It's not bell to bell, but it gives latitude during lunch and in the hallways. But are they seeing that it's problematic? Like, are kids being respectful of teachers' time and, not pulling out their cell phones during the classrooms? So is that policy practice working okay for us? Or is it causing a lot more issues than it's helping, I guess? Just if we're even considering doing something different. I guess I'm not understanding. I'm trying to understand the scope of the problem that we're trying to solve, I guess. Does anybody?
I think there is an addiction. This like movie sounds interesting. I know we've talked as a board whether we want to show screenagers in terms of the different iterations. If you go online now and look up the movie Like, that is less than an hour, not the 90-minute one that is, R-rated or whatever, but Like talks about the fact that, are you using technology as the catchphrase, or is technology using you? That the cell phone companies are selling this information in terms of what you're searching for. So in some ways you think you're using technology and it's actually using you. As evidence from the RMS survey, students are still indicating that they're being mean to each other, and it's not just FM, it's happening everywhere. And yet I think they're looking to the adults because they take the surveys and nothing's being done. I mean, I think they're expecting the adults to weigh in, and I'm sure that's what's driven the governor, that's what's driven NICET. I mean, I think there's an opportunity to make sure that it doesn't interfere, but I think, again, as I said, it's incumbent. We're going to have to teach how to appropriately use it because it's part of the landscape.
Dr. Tice, would you say that by and large the students are respecting the policy, though?
I think respecting the policy.
Yeah,
I think
that's
what
what
administrators told at administrative council is that on Mondays, they deal with a lot of fallout of what happens over the weekend. So we can do whatever we want during the school day. What happens in the evening or happens over the weekend is certainly going to be under the watch of the families. And so we end up digging out of that on a Monday morning. So that came across loud and clear that there's a lot of cleanup. So would a ban help? Perhaps, but we're still going to have to clean up over the weekend in terms of what happens there. Who's at what party, who didn't get invited, and what is the fallout there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we can't control how students use their phones outside of school and even while they're in school, like what they do on their phone exactly. But I think we were starting to talk about this topic because is it becoming a problem where kids are distracted from learning in the classroom, that teachers are spending time where they should be spending it learning or helping students, instead they're having to either discipline students for having their cell phones out, or, you know, is it a problem within our school community? Obviously the governor may or may not do a full ban or not, but are we seeing it as a problem within FM that we would want to consider, you know, a district-wide policy or not? And I guess that's an open question. I still don't.
I just want to speak to some of the data because we did collect quite a bit of the data, and some of it is, you know, inconclusive and can be, you know, attributed to many different factors. As we know, this is not a single factor issue, but just for the FMTA results for our teachers, over 77% of teachers agreed with the phrase that they've personally struggled with student cell phone use in the classroom. So that's right there, that's pretty telling that, to answer your question, is this an issue? Yes, it's an issue. And then 120 teachers took the time to write comments to speak to that issue, most of which were not positive about cell phone use in schools. And then on the same, you know, if you look at the student data, where over 500 students responded to a survey that was student created, that didn't come from us or the administration. And they're pretty mixed about the question, do your teachers follow the cell phone policy uniformly? I mean, the data's pretty much scattered between a scale of 1 to 5. And what I found interesting was the question, when in class, what do you use your phone for? And the policy is, as I understand it, you cannot use your phone in class. So the fact that 91% of our students responded to messaging, family, coaches, advisors, or friends during class, I mean, 91% tells me you are not following the cell phone policy. And then 88% said for academic reasons. So that is that part, I think, that's a little like, if a teacher allows it. So I think there's just some inconsistencies. And then there's also kids that reported using it for TikTok and online gaming during class as well. So I think, again, we have all this data, and I've looked through it pretty extensively. It's all in board docs, but I think it just shows us that there is a wide range of opinions. There's also a wide range of students using cell phones, maybe when they shouldn't be, but maybe they think they can be because some use the caddy, some don't. Middle school kids are allowed to have it, but some are supposed to have it in their lockers, I suppose. I'm not really quite clear on the policies at the school, and then elementary is a little different. So I think when we're looking at all this data and really talking about it and have the time to talk about it in committee work or in a workshop, there's a lot of factors to consider.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway of adding the FMAA survey piece to the data we'd already seen is there's just such a wide gamut, and even the differences between the FMAA, which is a smaller response, to the FMATA were pretty different, which are different perspectives, which are all super valuable. So I think we need a way to maybe break down in an analytical way what we've seen, or think about, is there one more comprehensive survey that's the same for every group, so that we get like more of an apples to apples comparison. But clearly, I read through most of the comments on all the surveys, and it really does run the gamut in terms of enforcement, in terms of what the policies are, and in terms of what our educators think is best for the student. So trying to honor all of that and follow the research is no, small task. But I think once we get the community survey back, we should really sit down and say what's next in terms of how to digest this and possibly resurvey some of the other pieces.
Well, and also something to consider, right now, my understanding is the elementary doesn't have a specific rule about smartwatches, and is that correct, Dr. Chase?
They haven't seen a proliferation of it. The watches are being used here and there, and it's usually the child's parent. So it isn't child to child, it's the parent contacting the child. So I do think, Vice President Cohen, I think we're going to get a mixture, with the stakeholder community survey results. Some are going to want something, some are
Well,
not.
yeah, but, as we talked about earlier, so the job is really to look at the kids and make sure we're making the best decision for the students and their learning. But we could gather the additional feedback and take a look at it, but, we don't have to do a one-size-fits-all. Like, we could say, let's look at elementary school because that seems like a no-brainer to start, and maybe start with something there and then see what do they notice has changed. Has it improved some things or not? Has it made it more difficult on some avenues? I don't know. Like, we could look at things on, doesn't have to be, we do something across the whole board too.
And it's not just the devices on a child's wrist, but it might be the expectations of parents that if they need to reach their child, they call the school. I think there's some reminders of what the protocol should be for the best classroom environment for our kids. And students feel compelled to respond to a parent that's going to reach out to them in the middle of the day, because we all feel compelled to respond to the messages we receive, but especially from a family member. So I think there's so many different pieces of this that we need to be practical, but we need to safeguard our learning environments the best we can, and not have our educators doing enforcement, to the point where it's just so laborious that it's not even worth it. It's finding that sweet spot, which is going to be challenging unless it's a mandate by the governor, which will still be challenging, but won't be our decision.
But even with the governor, it's going to be incumbent, it's going to be the teachers and the administrators that have to enforce. The governor isn't going to come in through the classroom door and tell the student,
One thing I noticed some of the comments, and I think, Ann, you've brought this up before, I saw several comments about how often the students are using their personal devices for classwork. And I don't know if it's just that it's quicker and easier to get onto Schoology from their own device, and we have Chromebooks for every student. So I'm not sure if it's really just comfort, like we are more comfortable just quickly looking on their phone, or just because they know they have them. I'm not sure what that is. But even, I think I saw that comment come up from the administrators and the teachers too. Like, sometimes they just want a student to go onto their phone to be able to do some classwork, which I'm not sure why that is, but it could be a combination of all those things. Okay, so we're going to be gathering community data from the survey that's out right now till December 1st. And, I do think taking a look at all of this information, I don't know if there's a good way to kind of look at it as a whole, because there is a lot of different perspectives, but I think figuring out exactly what problem we're trying to solve, and would anything that we would put in place come close to helping in those situations? Because to your point, Dr. Chase, there's still it's a partnership with family members. We can't teach everything to do with cell phones and monitoring activities on those. That's not our responsibility, so. Okay.
One other data point that could be helpful is just to understand the discipline, like I don't know if referrals is the right term, but how much of what we're seeing that's related to, let's say, smartphone use is connected to behaviors in the school versus obviously if something happened over the weekend and that's being brought in, that's a little bit different. But just to understand some of those pieces, if it's obtainable.
Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to add or explore on this?
Yeah, sorry, I guess just real quick, and it circles back to what Dr. Tice opened with, right? And so as we prepare our students for tomorrow and the technology that's here, right? And I guess, Ian, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. So I've visited 3 different colleges with my kids in the past 6 weeks as we prepare for that next step in the journey, right? And so for my kids, it looks like they're headed that direction. What, if any, cell phone policies do you have? Is it set professor by professor? Is it a policy, a SUNY policy? Is it the college policy? Can you just mention that just so we kind of can keep that within our thoughts?
Yeah, and I want to hear about all your visits too. Just like what I like to hear about. So at my school specifically, so within SUNY, the professors set the expectations by classroom. It's a different environment, but that's generally how it goes. When students are in meetings with administrators or whomever, we really stick to FERPA, so they're not allowed to come in with a parent on FaceTime or any of that kind of stuff. So there's general expectations across the board that meetings are private and those kinds of things. We're not recording anyone. But in classes, the expectations are set by the professor. That said, most of them say you are expected to not be using any device that is not necessary to the learning in the room, but they do make their own. The college provides a syllabus statement that they can put on. There's a few of those that we provide about meeting basic needs, about technology use, that kind of stuff. But they do have some flexibility to modify that or, use or, I guess, set the expectation at the beginning of the year, and they uphold it however they like to uphold it.
I think that's a good point, too, because, especially at the high school level, so, being able to handle their use of cell phones is sort of part of their learning process as well. So, be able to make good decisions, period. That's what we hope we graduate everyone to be able to do at the end of the day. Okay.
And if I may, I was intentional about my phrase that, again, as Chrissy did, looking at all the data, and to me, it just isn't the survey questions, it's looking at like that RMS data too, where the students recognize we're being mean to each other, but yet I filled out the survey year after year and the adults aren't doing anything about it, and it's like they want the help. So I think whatever we decide to do, it's going to be walking that fine line, because there's going to be some parents that want to keep it. How do we walk the line to provide that support? But they've got to look in the mirror themselves and understand that they've got to, if you want somebody to stop being mean to you, then stop being mean to somebody else. So I think we're going to still have to teach them appropriate ways of using it.
So one more thing that I was just thinking of. I think at the college level, if the student uses the phone to, post something on Yik Yak or whatever they're doing, they are I think there's a difference in when you're paying for the education versus when you're at the K-12 level. I feel like that sounds like a rotten thing to say. And I don't mean it in any way other than, you know, some students break it down, like for each class, like each time that I'm sitting in the classroom, I'm paying $5. Probably not 5, but probably. It's a guess. So they know that if they're not paying attention or they're not there, it's, you know, whatever it is, that they're losing something, and generally people don't like to lose that either. Some students still do get really irritated, like when professors don't show up, or, you know, when somebody's late or something like that. So I think there's a little bit of a difference, because here it's a public education, and students probably aren't paying taxes, but it's a little bit of a different feeling, but it's also, the professor has some liberty there.
Okay, anybody else have anything they wanted to add? To be continued, yes, absolutely. It's not a simple. Okay, so, item 10.01. So we do have a proposed executive session for the purpose of the superintendent's review of mid-year accomplishments on goals. Is that an appropriate level of detail? Oh, okay, thank you. I learned, I was listening. May I have a motion to go into executive session, please? Anne, thank you, and Chrissy. And all in favor? Okay. And then we need to adjourn from the regular session. Yes? No? No, we can do that later. We are not coming back out, no. So the rest of you may enjoy your evening. And look at that, 7:37. Thank you.